Hey, thanks for clicking on the video today. Two things I want to get off my chest before we start the video. First things first, I have played like a couple years, so I know I'm not like the highest rank, not no like master or challenger, but I did console a little bit higher, higher friends. Play this role a lot, and better than me and all that good stuff. This is my favorite role though, even though it's kind of struggling right now and ranked and such, but want to give that little preference before we started off. So number two is I go by Fire. Welcome to the channel. I post League and Apex content. I also stream on Twitch, link in the description. But with that being said, let's get into the video. All right, on to number 5. We got Caitlyn. Now Caitlyn was a contested pick. It was either between her for the number 5 spot or my honorable mention, but I made this list with the thought in mind how well you can do with little mastery. So Caitlyn is great for people who love to poke their enemies out of the lane and get the advantage early on, especially if you're a beginner to the game. Most marksmen won't be able to play against her since her huge range advantage. Her abilities are as followed, so stick with me here, stick with me. Alright, starting it right off with her passive headshot. It generates stats for each basic attack, doubled if in a bush. At 6 stats or 5 in a bush, her next shot will have massive damage increase. A lot. This is great for poking in lane. Honestly, when using her passive use her passive as a rest basically in lane. So like, even though you already have the ability to poke them out with just your range alone, make sure you land. You'll know when it's your passive. You'll start glowing and you'll have this, like, your gun will start glowing, that is. And just make sure you land it on the ADC, or if the support, if they're squishy like Sivir. She's very squishy in lane, but if you most of the time landed on the ADC, you'll get them out of lane really fast. Alright, next we got Caitlyn's Q. She fires an active known as Piercing Shot, which does 100% damage on first target, but then expands at 60% damage to the rest of the targets behind. This 99% of the time will be the first ability you choose to level up. It's very good for wave clear, and it's going to be a good chunk of damage you do in team fights. So, learn how to master this baby. Alright, so now we're going to go into her W. Caitlyn's W, also known as your Yardle Trap, is another active that puts down a trap. The trap is an untargetable, but if enemy walks over the trap, they are stunned for a brief moment in time. And when you target them, you shoot your passive, or your passive headshot immediately activates when they land on the trap. Her W ability is great for keeping your enemies at a distance, and also can be used for keeping your enemies locked in a certain area. So for example, often trick used on Caitlyn's main is when approaching a tower, let's say like their last tower before their inhibitor, with her team, she lays down her traps at the entrance of the tower. So I'm pretty sure if you played a few games, like you're Silver under level 30, you've probably seen the games where once they approach the tower, there's like a long line of Caitlyn traps. It's good for gives you the ability to harass them without them engaging you too much. So with that being said, let's go on to her E ability. Alright, so her E, this active is known as Heavy Caliber Net, launches a net, slows the enemy for a good brief moment, and launches you back almost 400 units, like 375 to be exact. This ability is often used for getting range and disengaging for fights. It's one of her only 2 streamer abilities, so use it with caution. And after that, we got her ultimate ability known as Ace in the Hole. Lockdown ability has a short delay to its cast, so make sure you're safe when you shoot it. Fires a powerful shot over a long range, and I'm talking long, I'm talking very long. This ultimate is great for execution. Some team fights or small duels end with the enemy oftentimes getting made with a little bit of help. So all I'm saying, if there's no teammates around to block the shot, click R. 9 times out of 10 you're going to get the kill on that. So with that wrapping up with Caitlyn's abilities, we're going to go into our number 4th pick. So here we got Sivir. Honestly, when going over this list, I was tempted not to put Sivir on here because I haven't played her. It's just not a character I usually played. But reviewing the list and with some of my higher tier friends, they did point out to me how easy and simplistic her kit was, and I'm like, okay, I'll put her in. And the gameplay you see me using right now, I had to do a whole recording beforehand just to get some gameplay up, but she's really good at wave clearing. Her range is not comparable to like Caitlyn or other poke marksmen, but she can still harass the lane with some of her abilities. So let's get into that. So here we got her passive called Fleet of Foot. It's a very basic passive that allows you to gain movement speed every time you strike a champion. So this passive is very good for sticking to your target, so it's harder for them to run away. Good for chase down and all that stuff. Then we got her Q. For her first ability, Boomerang Blade, is one of her main harassing and wave clearing tools. It's gonna be the first when you level up. It can be used both as an ability that you launch and it comes back, you know, exactly like a boomerang, but it deals damage on the way back and once you launch it forward, as the name suggests. Now we move on to her second ability, also known as harassing, as the one of her good harassing tools, but an even better wave clear. This ability makes her next few basic attacks to ricochet off one another to the targets, bounce around the minions, but it does reduce damage on the secondary targets. So Ricochet's basic attacks can go through a good portion of the minion wave and still hit champions. And once you unlock like your level 6 ability, your ultimate, which we're going to get into later, it gains another passive which gains bonus attack speed. Now we got her third ability, her E, has to be one of my most favorite abilities on honestly any ADCs, and it sucks because I'm not a fan of Sivir personally, but her third ability, there you go. You put it on any ADC and I'm in love with them, but basically the ability is a spell shield. It can block any, and I mean any ability in the, okay, hold on. There's a lot of champions in the game. Okay, preference my any with with a good proportion of the champions. It can block most champions spells, and then you receive mana for it. So Sivir is a champion who honestly suffers from a lot of mana usage due to all her abilities. So this ability is great for keeping her mana sustained up in lane. So with that being said, let's now move on to her final ability. Ooh. Now for her final ability, which is her R. When she activated, all her allies near her gains a huge movement speed boost, and it applies a new passive to Ricochet, like I mentioned before, and gives it more attack speed. This ability is really good for team fights because it allows your teammates to position faster. So if you have an assassins or tanks on your team, they'll be able to get to the targets or protect the targets they need to protect. So like if you have an assassin, he's able to get to the back line faster. If you have a tank, he's able to position in front of the squishies better in a good quick fashion, right? Really good ability, and also good chase down, and also good for when you're running away. With that being said, let's move on to our third pick. So here we got number 3. For the next ADC I mentioned, these guys you can all main and still carry into a good enough rank like gold or plat if you plan on playing rank at the current time of this video. So next we got Tristana. Now this ADC packs a punch, but it has a lot of short range, a lot comparable to a lot of the other ADCs. I think like one of the shortest, but to compensate for that, she has great wave clear and burst damage. I think some of the best wave clear, I think, for all ADCs. I recommend this marksman if you want to not worry about your support and get in and get out of situations. So stay tuned for this part if you want to care about that. Alright, so we got her passive, Draw a Bead, makes it so she gains auto attack range as she levels up. Something key to this character you'll start to notice is the later the game goes, the stronger she gets. And you don't have to worry that you're just getting the game, because most players when they start the game don't know how to end it correctly, the right way to end it. So it goes on for a good time, so you shouldn't have to worry about that. Then we have her Q, her Rapid Fire. As stated, it increases Tristana's attack speed for a short duration. This ability combo is very well for her third ability once we go into further detail for that when we get there. Next, we got her Rocket Jump. Allows her to jump a short distance, and when she lands, she does a small amount of damage and slows the surrounding units, for a brief moment in time. So what makes this ability shine? It could be used as an engage or an escape. So I recommend to know when you can go in and when you can't go in, because if you go in at the wrong time, it's basically setting up yourself for failure. But if you miscalculate, you're dead. So many buts. What I'm basically trying to say is, if you get engaged on, see, this is the part when not caring about your support comes in. Say you're pushing lane, right? And you don't use your engage right away because you're not sure if you can get the kill. If a jungler comes and you're not aware of it, boop, that's like another dash. It's really helpful for new players who don't know their limits yet and are not so great at warring. So keep that in mind. Alright, on to her last 2 abilities. We got Explosive Charge for her third one. This ability's passive makes units you kill explode on death, but when activated, you throw a bomb on a target that explodes after a short duration. But every time you attack the target, the bomb will gain strength, and if you attack enough, it would explode before the duration period comes to an end. So it's really good to combine with your attack speed we talked about earlier. And then for her last ability, we got her Buster Shot. Her ultimate ability combos well with her bomb. This ability allows you to knock back a target, let's say a tank or a tank that's on you when you get them out of your space. put a bomb on them, knock them back into the enemy line, and you will double the explosion rate just by having the bomb on it, and the R will immediately detonate it. So I think that's a really good combo, like really good. So just remember that when using her, you know, all her abilities together, you know. So my final thoughts on Tristana is she's one of the best ADCs to get a handle of because she has a very high skill ceiling. Just knowing her abilities, you can get a good use for her, but she has a lot of combos and strings. So I recommend if you find interest in looking her up to, you know, look up a small 5-minute guide on her. But you don't have to if you just want to have fun with her. But if you want to take her to that next level, man, she can go crazy. But let's get on to number 2. Ashe has one of my favorite marksmen overall. One of my favorite. She's never in a bad spot and provides a lot of utility. She's actually one of the best marksmen on this list. Even if they lose the lane, she still has a way to help out the team due to her utility. I would recommend Ashe to players who want to do it all as a marksman. She has good damage, most of her builds give her good sustain, she has slows, she also has a stun, and she has a very strong ability that no other ADCs have. But let's get right into that. So first off, we got her passive, Frost Shot. Now this what sets Ashe apart from a lot of the other marksmen. Her basic attack's slow, and when she does damage to those people who are already slow, she gains bonus damage. Her critical strike's damage is converted into empowered slows, so the more crit, the stronger her slow. Now we got her Q, Ranger's Focus. Ashe builds up focus, and when she reaches maximum focus, she can cast her Q ability to consume all the attacks, or stacks, not tax, and temporarily increase her attack speed. This ability is going to be her main source of damage and is a great answer to some of the tanks out there. So keep that in mind when you get in those team fights. Next, we got her W. This is going to be her poke, you know, her good poke and her slow. Volley Ashe fires arrows in a cone-like figure and applies Frost Shot. This ability is great for poking out a lane, zoning, keeping enemies at a distance. Also be careful because depending on what build you take, this does consume a lot of mana. So there's builds with Monamune that you don't have to worry about shooting it off too much, but there's other builds like Kraken Slayer which doesn't really benefit her mana pool. So keep that in mind. Now we got our E, another utility based ability. Hawk Shot is a purely scouting ability. It is great for when you don't have wards in a river and you don't know what side of the jungler is on. So I recommend using these when you have been overextended for a good amount of time and wonder if you can keep up the pressure or back off. Mainly I use her Hawk Shots just for the jungler because if my team can see where the jungler is, I can lower his impact and lower his ganking potential. You know, when we screw over a jungler in game, every lane's happy. Now we got our Crystal Arrow, her ultimate ability. This ultimate is one of my my favorite, let's go with that, favorite on marksman because you can pull off a lot of cheese plays with hitting 6 on her. When the enemy is down a level and you have an okay support, most times you're going to get the kill. Now the ability Crystal Arrow has a longer stun the farther it travels. That's why if you use her in game, and you see a lot of people throwing her arrows across the map like crazy people, it's mainly for that reason, but I recommend just use it up close, nothing fancy, get all the use out the air you can, and also slows other enemies in their surrounding area. So it's also good for teammates and, you know, good for team fights, so I mean, not teammates. So keep that in mind. Ashe is definitely a character you can start doing good with day one. She does take a little mastery and a little bit of a learning curve, but knowing your map and using her hot shots, but besides that, she's kind of straightforward. Now, before we get into the last best ADC for you beginners out there, this is our honorable mention. Honestly, Jinx was my favorite ADC when I first started playing League of Legends about like 3-4 years ago. But now I'm going to go in depth for her, you know. I'm not going to go too in depth for her because she's just an honorable mention. But the main reason why I was struggling to put her spot on the number 5, or like, you know, for Kate and stuff like that, is mainly because even though her kit is quite simple, if you don't land any of her abilities and use her Q correctly in lane, you'll have a lot of problems with her. But she just requires more mastery than most ADCs on this list, or not most, all of them. But if you do take the time out of your day to put some effort into her, and if you're really low elo like iron, bronze, silver, with quite a little practice on her, you'll be able to carry a lot of games. She's a very hyper carry ADC. She has good range, high lead damage, good utility, and it sounds like something in your speed, you know, like Ashe with more damage. You're willing to put the work in, I say give her a look. Really good. But now, with that being said, let's get into our number one pick. Some of you guys might not be surprised. It's going to be Miss Fortune. So I think she's a great pick. Many reasons, but if you recently picked up League of Legends, she's actually one of the first champions that's allowed you to get it for free. Like, if you like, so I expect people who watch this video are going to be some returning players and some fresh new players. But if you're like a new player and you just set up an account, Miss Fortune was one of the first characters, so I hope you picked her up. Really good pick. The reason I have my number one spot for Miss Fortune is because you can deal so much damage with her with so little mastery. Like, just auto someone and you'll do more damage than any other C off the start. And she has one ability that can win a team fight by itself. And with that being said, let's hop into her abilities. We got her passive. Now, the love tap passive is what I was just talking about. Doing more damage right off the rip. Miss Fortune, she does bonus physical damage whenever she's basic attacking a new target. So if you're smart with this, all you have to do is auto minion, auto champion, back and forth. And just doing that will garner you such a huge lead. Now we got her Q. Now, looking at her Q, double tap, this literally combines her passive with a cannonball. It will apply love tap to both targets hit, the one she hits, and then the bullet shoots behind the target she hits. That's not even including the damage, the ability. Like, oh my god, just thinking about this sounds kind of broken, but you know, every ADC does have their fault. Now her W is a three-parter, so listen here. She gains a passive movement speed when out of combat. It's like you have boots on as soon as you level up the ability. And once you activate it, you gain attack speed. And then when it's on cooldown, your love taps decrease its cooldown. So you get two passives and one active. Oh, excuse me. The passive movement speed helps a lot with getting with back timings, you know, because for new players, they don't often have great back timings, and you should probably look at that up after this video if you want to help your laning phase go out. So if your back timing is messed up, it decreases how long you need to get back to lane just if you have your W up. It helps out a lot. And not to mention the attack speed this ability gives you will help out so much with duels, especially that you have love tap included. Now on to her third ability, her E, Make It Rain. It's a slow ability that also reels an area, so it's good for chasing down targets or preventing assassins from diving onto you. Also, since the ability can reveal areas, I do highly recommend you guys to use it for when checking bushes. You never want to face check. Next, we got her R. Her R, this is the big one right here, is a huge cone spread of several waves of bulliage. Each wave can critically strike. The one ability I was talking about earlier that can win the team fights, this is the ability alone. This ability alone can win you team fights and steamroll you to an easy win, I promise you. And especially if you're just starting out League of Legends, ADCs, or not ADCs, but characters are not going to know how to focus the ADC well. So take advantage of this, take advantage of that. And with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you made it all this way here, like, thank you. That's crazy. I'm a new YouTuber. It's really weird if anyone finishes my video. If you want to see more of these videos for any role, just let me know. I plan on doing all the roles, but if you guys comment, I will, like, you know, rush that role to the front line. So, you know, if you like what you see, you know, leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. This is a long journey ahead of us. I have a lot of goals ahead of me too, like a lot of stuff planned. So if you're rocking with it, stay here. If you're not, just thank you for tuning in, man. That's all I can ask. And with that being said, I hope you guys have a good day.
Bounce with it, just bounce with it. Everybody wanna come, I'm announcing it. I'm always gon' get it, I'm always gon' get it. Even if you sit back denouncing it. But I'm a good kid, I rock gold, I'm never gon' sleep with ya. I loved you, I've been wrong, but let me see the whole damn picture. But damn, I got it. Super